My wife cheated with her boss, only to discover he's trying to steal our $300, $0 inheritance in court now that I caught them. Was I to trust her after all the secret bank accounts? I never thought I'd be the guy to get like this. It all started with little things, odd messages on her phone, missed calls from numbers I didn't recognize, and a sudden change in her attitude toward me. Jessica had always been a bit of a bitch, sharp-tongued, demanding, and pretty manipulative when she wanted something, but I figured that was just her personality. Still, I never suspected she'd go as far as cheating on me with her boss, Mark. Honestly, I didn't even want to believe it at first. We'd been together for over 10 years, built a life around our inheritance, about $300, $0, that I thought we were both working toward. That money was supposed to secure our future, and I trusted her with everything. Or so I thought. It was a Thursday evening when I first caught wind of it, though I didn't realize it at the time. I'd been working late, as usual, and decided to check our joint bank account. I'd always been the cautious one with money, checking balances, making sure bills were paid, watching for any suspicious activity. But lately, I'd noticed some strange transfers, small amounts moving around that I couldn't explain. I chalked it up to some online subscriptions or maybe a bank error. But then I saw a transfer of $10, $0 to a private account I didn't recognize. My stomach dropped, and my heart started pounding. Who the hell was moving that kind of money without telling me? I pulled up the account details and saw the name associated with it, Jessica, my wife. My mind raced. Why would she move money? Was she hiding something? Immediately, I thought about her secret bank accounts, the ones she'd always existing. She's always been secretive about her finances, hidden passwords, quick excuses when I asked about her phone. But I never thought she'd actually do something this shady. I felt a cold wave of suspicion wash over me, and I knew I had to find out what was really going on. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept going over everything, her late nights, her vague excuses about work, the strange texts she'd delete instantly. I decided to do some digging. I installed a monitoring app on her phone, something I'd never done before, but I was desperate. Over the next couple of days, I uncovered a web of lies. Texts with Mark, her boss, talking about secret meetings, special nights, and keeping things quiet. I found pictures of her in bed with him, smiling and touching each other like they were in love. And worst of all, I found a series of emails where Mark was trying to convince her to leave me, promising her a better life if she just played along. I was furious. Betrayed doesn't even begin to cover it. I felt sick. How could she do this to me after everything? I'd worked so hard to build our future, and now I was staring at the truth. She'd been fucking her boss for months, maybe longer. And it wasn't just the cheating that hurt. It was the fact that she lied about everything, lied about her secret accounts, lied about her feelings, lied about her loyalty. I felt used, stupid, and angry. So damn angry I wanted to tear something apart. But I knew I had to keep my cool, even if inside I was boiling over. I decided I couldn't confront her right away. I needed a plan. I spent the night going through all the evidence, jotting down every detail, every lie she'd told me. I realized she'd been manipulating me, playing the perfect wife while secretly planning her escape with her boss, who, by the way, was trying to steal our inheritance in court now that I'd caught them. I had no idea how deep her deception went until I found out about the court case, about Mark's plans to take the money under the guise of protecting her interests. That was the last straw. This wasn't just about cheating anymore. It was about betrayal on a massive scale. I knew I had to act, but I also knew I couldn't just blow up everything without thinking. I had some leverage, some control. I was going to use her own secrets against her, expose her lies, her manipulations, her greed. I was going to make her pay for what she did, not just with her heart but with her future. I'd always believed in honesty, but now I saw she'd been lying to me from the start, and I was done being naive. She wanted to play dirty. I was ready to fight back with everything I had. If you want me to keep going, just say the word. The next morning I woke up with a new resolve. I had all the pieces I needed, and I knew exactly what I had to do. I wasn't going to confront her blindly. That would only give her a chance to spin her lies and manipulate me further. No, I needed to be strategic. First, I called my lawyer, someone I'd trusted for years, and set up a meeting. I had to understand my legal position, especially since she was trying to take the inheritance in court. I also wanted to know what evidence I could gather to support my case. While waiting for the lawyer, I started digging into her finances even more. I subpoenaed her secret bank accounts, and sure enough, there were more hidden accounts, with thousands flowing in and out. I couldn't believe how deep her deception went. She'd been hiding money from me for years, probably to fund her secret life with Mark. I found emails from her, full of lies and excuses, saying she was just friends with her boss, that she was working late, that I was overreacting. The thing is, I wasn't naive anymore. I knew her game. She was lying, and she'd been lying for a long time. When I finally met with my lawyer, I laid everything out, proof of her affair, the hidden accounts, the court case, the emails, everything. He looked at me with a mixture of concern and determination. We discussed my options. I could file for divorce, challenge her claims in court, or possibly even pursue criminal charges if I found enough evidence of fraud or theft. But what I really wanted was to make her pay for what she'd done. I wanted her to understand that betrayal had consequences, and I wasn't going to be the one left holding the bag. Over the next few days, I put my plan into motion. I hired a private investigator to gather more evidence. I wanted to catch her in the act if she tried to meet Mark again. I also contacted a forensic accountant to trace the money she'd been siphoning off into her secret accounts. Meanwhile, I kept my cool at home, pretending everything was normal, though inside I was boiling with rage. I didn't want her to suspect that I was onto her, but I also knew I had to be careful. One slip-up and she might destroy all the evidence or try to run away with the money. One night I decided to confront her directly. I sat her down in the living room, looked her straight in the eyes, and told her I knew everything. I showed her the emails, the bank statements, the texts from Mark. Her face turned pale, then red with anger. She tried to deny it at first, claiming I was crazy, that I was just paranoid. She said she was under stress, that Mark was just a friend, that I was overreacting because I didn't trust her. But I didn't buy it. I knew her game now. I told her I wasn't going to play her lies anymore. If she wanted to lie and cheat, she could do it somewhere else. I was done being her fool. Her reaction was classic. She burst into tears, calling me a jealous idiot, saying I was ruining everything. She begged for forgiveness, said she loved me, that it was a mistake. She even threw in the classic line, "You're just insecure," or "You don't understand how stressful my job is." But I wasn't buying any of it. I'd seen too much, uncovered too many lies. I told her she had exactly one chance to come clean and tell me the truth, or I was going to take everything, the house, the money, her reputation, and walk away. That was the moment I realized I wasn't just angry anymore. I was hurt, betrayed, and ready to make her pay. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept racing, replaying everything I'd uncovered, planning my next move. I knew I had her cornered now. The evidence was solid and I had the legal backing. But the biggest shock was yet to come, the court case, where Mark was trying to steal our inheritance. I couldn't believe how far she'd gone, how deep her lies ran, and how she'd even tried to manipulate the court system to get what she wanted. That was the last straw. This wasn't just about infidelity. This was about total betrayal, greed, and manipulation. I was going to fight for what was mine, and I was going to make her regret ever crossing me. If you want me to keep going, just ask. The days that followed were a whirlwind. I stayed up late every night, poring over all the evidence I'd collected, making sure I had everything bulletproof. I knew Jessica would try to spin her story in court, so I had to be meticulous. The court case was scheduled for a week out, and I was determined to come out swinging. I also made sure to keep my emotions in check around her, though inside I was seething. Every time she looked at me with that fake, innocent face, I wanted to scream. She was a master manipulator, I'll give her that, but I wasn't going to fall for her tricks anymore. The day of the hearing arrived faster than I expected. I went into the courtroom with my lawyer, feeling like I was walking into a war zone. Jessica was there, looking smug and confident. She thought she had everything covered. Mark was sitting in the courtroom, smirking like he'd already won. I knew better. I had the evidence and I knew how to use it. As the hearing started, Jessica's lawyer tried to downplay everything, claiming I was paranoid, that her accounts were legitimate, and that her relationship with Mark was innocent. I could see through the bullshit. I stood up, and with a calm but firm voice I presented all the evidence, screenshots, bank statements, emails, witness testimonies. I made it clear that she had been lying to everyone, including the court. The judge listened carefully, asking questions, flipping through the documents I provided. When I finished, Jessica's face went pale. She tried to deny everything, but it was obvious she was caught red-handed. Her lawyer scrambled to come up with excuses, but it was no use. The evidence was overwhelming. Mark's attempt to steal our inheritance was exposed, along with Jessica's lies and secret accounts. The courtroom was silent for a moment after I sat down, waiting for the judge's decision. When the judge finally spoke, his tone was stern. He ordered Jessica to turn over all the hidden assets, including the accounts I'd revealed, and he also warned her about the legal consequences of her actions. As the court proceedings came to an end, I felt a strange mixture of relief and rage. Jessica was furious, screaming and crying, but I knew I'd won this round. I had protected my inheritance, and I'd exposed her for the lying, manipulative bitch she was. Mark looked pissed too, realizing he wasn't going to get away with stealing our money. After the court, I confronted Jessica in the parking lot. She was still crying, trying to spin some sob story about how she was sorry, how she loved me, and how she'd make everything right. I stared at her and told her I'd had enough. That her lies had cost her everything, her marriage, her reputation, and her chance to get away with her schemes. I told her I was filing for divorce and that I'd be taking her to court for the financial damages she caused. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was done being the victim of her lies. I'd fought hard, and I was ready to rebuild my life without her. In the days that followed, I started the process of separating everything. I hired a lawyer to handle the divorce, and I made arrangements to secure my inheritance. The money was safe now, but the emotional toll was heavy. I felt betrayed, yes, but also relieved that I'd finally uncovered the truth. Jessica tried to reach out a few times, begging for forgiveness, claiming she'd change, but I wasn't interested. Once you cross a line like that, there's no coming back. I learned a lot from this ordeal about trust, manipulation, and the importance of protecting what's yours. Looking back, I realize I was naive in trusting her for so long. I thought love meant honesty, but it turns out some people will lie, cheat, and scheme just to get what they want. I also learned that sometimes you have to fight dirty to get justice. I didn't want to destroy her completely, but I wanted her to understand that her actions had consequences. She tried to steal our future, and I made sure she paid for it. Now I'm just trying to move on, rebuild what I can, and make sure I never fall for this kind of betrayal again. If you want me to keep going, just say so. After the court case wrapped up and I got the official confirmation that Jessica's schemes had been exposed, I thought I'd finally breathe a little easier. But honestly, the aftermath was messier than I expected. The divorce process was she fought me every step of the way, trying to drag things out, claiming she was the victim and insisting she still loved me. Yeah, right, I knew better. She'd been cheating, stealing, and lying for months, maybe longer. Trust was completely broken, and I was done giving her the benefit of the doubt. The worst part was seeing her try to manipulate everyone around her. She told her friends I was controlling and jealous, trying to paint herself as the victim. Meanwhile, she was out there spinning stories about how she was just confused and under pressure at work. It made me sick. I knew her well enough now to see right through her lies. Her bitchy attitude only got worse. She'd yell, cry, throw tantrums, and blame everyone but herself. I refused to get dragged into her drama. I stayed firm, sticking to my legal rights, and refused to be swayed by her manipulative tactics. One day she showed up at my house unexpectedly, trying to guilt me into taking her back. She was crying, begging, saying she'd changed, that it was all a mistake. I looked at her, cold and detached. I told her she had burned that bridge, that her lies had cost her everything, and that I wasn't going to be a part of her game anymore. I told her she could go to hell, that I was done. That moment was a turning point. I realized I had to set strict boundaries, not just for my peace of mind but also to protect myself from her ongoing manipulation. Meanwhile, I focused on securing my financial future. The inheritance was safe, thanks to the court's ruling. I hired a financial advisor to help me manage everything, making sure I'd be okay without her. I also started therapy, something I should have done years ago, to process everything and rebuild my confidence. I felt betrayed, yes, but I also realized I'd been naive for trusting her so blindly. Now I was learning to be more cautious, more guarded. I wasn't going to let anyone manipulate me like that again. The biggest shock came when I found out Mark was trying to get a part of our inheritance through the court, claiming he was owed money or some kind of settlement. I couldn't believe how deep the betrayal went. This guy, who I once thought was just Jessica's boss, was now trying to steal from us in broad daylight. That lit a fire under me. I gathered all the evidence I had, including the emails and bank statements, and I worked with my lawyer to file a counterclaim. I wasn't going to let him walk away with our money. I wanted him to pay for his part in this mess. Throughout all this chaos, I kept asking myself if I had been for trusting Jessica so much. The answer was a clear yes. But I also learned a lot about human nature, how some people will lie, cheat, and manipulate just to get what they want. I realized that the most important thing is to protect yourself, your assets, and your peace of mind. Trust is earned, not given blindly. I also learned that revenge isn't always about hurting someone physically. It's about making sure they pay for their betrayal, and that's what I set out to do. Now, I'm slowly rebuilding my life. I've moved into a new place, cut ties with Jessica completely, and started fresh. I don't regret fighting for what's mine, even if it was painful. I feel more aware now, more cautious. The trust I once had is gone, replaced by a cautious optimism, believing in myself enough to know I won't let someone manipulate me. Again, I know I'll be okay. It just took a lot of pain, a lot of betrayal, and a lot of lessons to get here. But I'm finally free from her lies, her schemes, and her bitchy manipulations. If you want me to keep going, just ask. The aftermath of everything was a whirlwind of legal battles, emotional exhaustion, and a strange sense of relief mixed with anger. I finally had the upper hand, but the scars of betrayal ran deep. Jessica's constant attempts to manipulate, beg, or spin her version of the story only made me more determined to finish what I started. I knew she was trying to claw her way back into my life, but I was done being naive. I had learned that some people will lie, cheat, and steal just to get what they want, and that trust, once broken, is nearly impossible to rebuild. One of the most surprising developments was how Mark, her boss, tried to worm his way into the situation even more. After the court exposed his attempt to steal our inheritance, he suddenly started sending me threatening emails, trying to intimidate me, claiming he had rights, or that I was overreacting. I couldn't believe how far he was willing to go. I hired security just to be safe and made sure my lawyer was aware of his tactics. I wanted to make it clear that I wasn't backing down, that I had all the evidence needed to take him down if he kept pushing. Jessica, on her end, was still trying to guilt me into taking her back. She'd call me crying, begging for a second chance, saying she'd do anything to fix things. But I wasn't fooled anymore. I saw through her lies, her bitchy attitude, and her manipulative ways. I told her flat out that she had burned her bridges, that her lies had cost her everything, and that I was done with the drama. I also made it clear that I was going to pursue her for all the damages, both financial and emotional, that she caused. I wanted her to understand that her actions had consequences, and I was going to hold her accountable. During this time, I also started focusing on rebuilding myself. I took a long vacation just to clear my head. I started working out again, which helped me regain some sense of control. I also started dating casually, just to remind myself that life still goes on and not everyone is like Jessica. It was a slow process, but I felt stronger, more confident. The betrayal had shattered my trust, yes, but it also taught me a hard lesson. Trust no one blindly. Protect what's yours and never let anyone manipulate you into thinking they're something they're not. One night, I received a call from a private investigator I'd hired. He had some new footage. Jessica meeting with Mark in a discreet location, exchanging what looked like documents and cash. I watched the footage, feeling a mixture of anger and satisfaction. She'd been lying to my face all along, pretending she was innocent while working behind my back. That was the final nail in the coffin. I knew I'd done everything I could to expose her, to protect my assets, and to make sure she paid for her betrayal. Looking back, I realized I was naive to trust her in the first place. But I also learned that sometimes, you have to be willing to fight dirty to protect yourself. I'd always believed in honesty and loyalty, but I saw now that some people are only loyal to themselves, greedy, selfish, manipulative. The biggest lesson I take from all this is that you need to be vigilant. Protect your money, your reputation, and your peace of mind. Trust is earned, it's not given freely. And once it's broken, it's almost impossible to repair. Now I'm finally starting to move on. The court case is behind me, and I've secured my inheritance. I've cut out all the toxic people from my life and started fresh. It's not easy, and I still have moments where I feel the sting of betrayal, but I'm stronger for it. I know what I want now, a life built on honesty, integrity, and genuine relationships. Jessica was a wake-up call I won't forget. I just hope anyone reading this learns from my mistake. Don't be naive. Watch your back, protect what's yours, and never let anyone manipulate you into thinking they're something they're not. If you want me to keep going, just say so. Looking back now, I realize how much this whole experience changed me. For years, I thought I had a solid, trusting marriage, and I believed we were building something real, something secure. Turns out, I was completely blind to the fact that she was planning her escape, chasing after her own greed and willing to lie and cheat her way through it. The betrayal cut deep, and honestly, I felt like I lost a part of myself in the process. But in the end, I also found clarity. I learned that trust isn't something you give blindly. It's something you earn, and once broken, it's nearly impossible to rebuild. The most important lesson I take from all of this is about protecting yourself, your assets, your emotional well-being, your future. I was naive at first, thinking that love and honesty were enough. But I've come to see that people will manipulate and lie if they think they can get away with it. The key is to stay vigilant, to keep your eyes open, and to never ignore the signs of deceit. If I had not been so cautious, I might have lost everything: my inheritance, my peace of mind, even my sense of self. Now I'm finally at a point where I can breathe again. The court proceedings are over, and I have full control over my money and future. I've started rebuilding my life, focused on my career, my health, and reconnecting with friends and family who stood by me through all this chaos. I don't harbor hatred anymore. I just feel a sense of relief that I finally took control. Jessica's betrayal taught me not to trust blindly, but it also made me stronger. I know what I deserve, and I'm not settling for anything less. If there's one thing I want others to take away from this, it's that no matter how perfect things seem, always keep your guard up. Be cautious with your trust, especially when it comes to money and relationships. People can surprise you in the worst ways. Protect what's yours and don't be afraid to fight for it. Because in the end, the only person who truly has your back is yourself. And if you're ever in a similar situation, remember, honesty and integrity matter most, but so does your own safety and peace of mind. Never let anyone take that away from you. That's where I am now, stronger, wiser, and finally ready to move forward. It's been a hell of a ride, but I've come out the other side knowing exactly what I stand for. I hope my story serves as a warning, but also as a testament. No matter how bad it gets, you can survive, you can rebuild, and you can come out better on the other side.